Hi, thanks for joining me today. I was working on helping a friend of mine this weekend make some little 3x3 Valentines for her students, and I had all of these great scraps left over. It just so happens that my particular pieces I had left, these little ones measure 1 inch, and these ones ended up, these were actually extras, and these measure 2 3/4 square. So I designed a little 3x3 Valentine to take advantage of these particular scraps, but I thought I would share it with you. I think it came out really cute, and it's a great idea for using up your scraps. Doesn't necessarily have to be for Valentine's Day, and you can always go through, if you keep your scraps, go through your scrap stash, and you can always cut them down to the size that you need. So let me show you what I did with these scraps that I had left over. The first thing that I did was I cut down all my 1 inch scraps, and the length doesn't really matter on this, so I cut them all down to be about 1/4 of an inch wide. And then I have 3 other pieces of cardstock. I have my card base, which is cut at 6x3, scored at 3 to give me my 3x3 card base. I kept my other scrap of designer paper at 2 3/4 square. And then I cut another piece of Whisper White that measures 2 1/2 square. And those are going to layer just like that. But let me show you what we're going to do with this first. So before I put my card together, of course, I have to create the focal image on my smallest piece. Again, 2 1/2 inches square piece of Whisper White. This is the heart die from the Hearts of Flutter Framelits collection. So all I'm going to do is just center this in that square of Whisper White cardstock. And then I'm just going to take a piece of Post-it note to hold that where I want it, and I can run it through my Big Shot just like this. So that's all set. Let me take this apart. Now save this for another project. You can reuse that, but what we're going to use today is actually the negative of the die cut. But I'm going to set this aside just for a minute. This is just a piece of copy paper. You can see it's not cardstock or anything. And actually, I like to do techniques like this with plain copy paper. And this measures 1 1/2 inch square. And I'm just going to take my snail, and I want to cover this pretty liberally with adhesive. Make sure you get the edges and into the corners as much as you can. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in my little strips here, and I'm just going to start in the center, and I'm just going to lay these down at an angle. And just place them together however you think it looks good. And then you can flip this over. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim around the edge of the square with my scissors. This is going to be hidden, most of this, so don't worry about trimming it perfectly. If you want to do this on your trimmer, you can do that as well. Now, if any of these are long enough, make sure that you save them, because you can use them if you're making more. You can use these short little pieces towards the edges. See, like that one I could use as long as it wasn't too close to the middle of my piece. So make sure you don't just swipe these into the wastebasket. And now we have this cute little square of striped custom designer paper. And that is going to go right behind our heart. And I made it a little bit bigger. You can see a little bit bigger than the heart shape because I wanted to have a little bit of room to kind of play with it and put it, you know, exactly where I wanted to. And if I wanted to do it the stripes this way, I could do it that way. So I've got a little bit of wiggle room there. I can kind of play with where I want it placed. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach this with dimensionals. So I'll just flip my piece over. And I actually cut a couple of dimensionals in half for this. So I'll just go around the outside of my heart. And now I can go ahead and place this on my little designer paper just the way I want it. Okay, you can see that's what it ended up looking like on the back. But here's the front, and then we're just gonna bring back in our other two pieces for our card. And here's how I'm gonna attach this. I'm gonna put some snail on the back of that piece, because that is going to be flush with the card. And then I'm going to use my dimensionals so that this will now be even with the dimensionals that we put under our little striped designer paper. Oh, but before I put this on the card, I should attach my designer paper square to my card base. And I'll just center and stick that to my card base. And now this is ready to center and stick to that red paper. Just like that. But of course, because this is a Valentine, we want to make it super special. So I'm going to do one more thing. I have the mini envelopes that Stampin' Up! Sells. This measures just a little bit bigger than 3x3. So the 3x3 cards fit perfectly inside these envelopes. And I've got this heart with all the little hearts on it stamp from the Hearts of Flutter stamp set, which coordinates perfectly with the die that we used. And I'm going to ink that up using Real Red. And I'll just stamp that in the bottom corner of my envelope. And then for one more little finishing touch, I've got another scrap of my designer paper here and the small heart punch. And I'm just going to punch out a cute little pink heart. Put some snail on the back of that. And we'll just stick that right over top of that heart. And there we have an adorable embellished envelope that matches perfectly with our little 3x3 Valentine. And you can see that fits very nicely in the envelope, just like that. So this would be a really great project to do with your kids for their classroom Valentines. They can help you, depending upon how old they are, of course, but kids love cranking things through the Big Shot. That's a great project. Looking through your scrap stash and picking out pink and red papers that they like. This is a really great project to do for your kids for their classroom. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope that you enjoyed this quick and fun project. And I will see you next time for another video. Until then, happy stampin'. Bye-bye.